Noah, let's face it, if you go anywhere these days, you need a mask.
That's right, Clint. If you go to the bank or the gym or even the store, you're going to be required to wear one for the foreseeable future.
If you're going to be rocking a mask, why not do it in style while celebrating the Chiefs Super Bowl victory in the process?
Absolutely. Visit our friends at Noble Apparel to check out all their selections of masks that come in all styles, from Frozen to Spider-Man, and of course our defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs.
Noble Apparel is KC born and bred, and their merchandise is by Chiefs fans for Chiefs fans.
Visit NobleApparelKC.com or check them out on Facebook today at Noble Apparel 816.
This is your Olympic hero and former WWE champion, Kurt Angle. And I just wanted to give a shout out to my guys, Clint and Noah. When it comes to covering sports, there is no one better. And believe me, that's true. It's damn true.
Gentlemen, you are the top 1%.
The elite. Best of the best.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man. And I'm saying, woo! I'm the man. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
You know, when they talk about the elite. The elite. You ever see the elite? You're the elite. You are the elite.
You are now listening to the Elite Sports Podcast, brought to you by Vermeil Wines and powered by GASN Sports, the pinnacle of hard-hitting sports talk, featuring weekly expert analysis and top-notch interviews. And now, please welcome your hosts, Noah Gronniger and Clint Switzer.
Does it feel good to be locked and loaded here on the Elite Sports Podcast? Absolutely it does. Clint Switzer alongside my co-host Noah Gronniger, the man whose favorite Rocky movie is Rocky V. Noah, how's it going? What's been up? And how's Tommy Morrison treating you?
Tommy Morrison's great. I just love Rocky V. I cannot get enough of George Washington Duke. There's everything to love about Rocky V. It dwarfs all the others. But I'm doing well here. We're still stuck inside. Coronavirus is just threatening everything again, threatening sports as we sit here. They've come out with new mouth guards for the NFL, and perhaps they're going to go to college football to help protect the players out there. And we have got, like you said, a locked and loaded show with Outkick.com's Jason Whitlock and current Alabama football player Byron Young.
We absolutely do. And along those lines, before we get into those huge interviews here on the show, we joked about Rocky V, which actually both of us, we have similar sentiments when it comes to that film. We both kind of like the movie. It's just in the realm of the Rocky universe, it ranks down pretty low. Am I right? I mean, it's still a good movie. And the flashback scene with Mick in the gym is one of my top 3 or 4 moments of the entire series. So it's not all bad. Plus, I was a big Tommy Morrison fan. I thought maybe he wasn't the right guy for a villain in that movie. Something about it didn't quite work for me. I liked George Washington Duke, but Rocky V, I mean, I don't know. It's a polarizing film. And does this also mean that your favorite Rambo is Last Blood?
Well, of course, no, I can't go that far. That was a travesty, not even a Rambo film. He didn't have the long hair. The whole plot line was just a plot from Taken, not an actual Rambo plot. There was no war going on, just trying to save some daughter of his that he apparently had. So, unfortunately for that, Rambo, The Last Blood is not my favorite. But Rocky V, yeah, it gets a bad name, but it's a high-quality film.
Well, it really is. And I'll tell you what, Noah, this week on the Elite Sports Podcast, we're going to kind of take ourselves outside of our comfort zone a little bit because, of course, during COVID-19, during the craziness that is 2020, we've been keeping the interviews coming. We've been talking about former athletes, coaches, their careers, kind of what they've done, what they've been up to. On this show, we're going to sort of dip our toes, so to speak, into a little bit of the political realm because Jason Whitlock's coming on, and I'm a huge fan of Jason's dating back from his time here at the Kansas City Star. He was here for 16 years. Really, as a kid, growing up in Kansas City, being such a huge Chiefs fan, I remember him and he always kind of had a dissenting opinion of the Chiefs. Everybody around me, all my friends were just raw, blind homers. Well, Jason was always critical of management, critical of Carl Peterson and, hiking up prices and parking prices and never going after the right quarterback, having your back over Rich Gannon, things like that. And so I always appreciated Jason's work. Now he's one of the top sports journalists in the country. He's hobnobbing with people like Tucker Carlson. He was on with Tucker, and he's got Rush Limbaugh kind of nipping at his heels. And Senator Josh Hawley is also a big Whitlock fan. He's joined forces with Clay Travis on Outkick.com. Noah, Jason's a huge get for us, and I'm excited to talk to him about some stuff. Were you a Whitlock fan when he was at the Kansas City Star?
I did follow him, maybe not quite as closely as you did, but I always know he had his grades at the end of the year in the paper that everyone would go to and see what he graded the team as and certain players. And, of course, we're going to ask him kind of about his time here in Kansas City and kind of his thoughts and emotions leading towards today and how he feels about the Chiefs today and seeing them win a Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years. And, of course, all the social issues, Colin Kaepernick, what's going on with that. He's got a documentary coming out on ESPN, and but he's not in the NFL. And does he want to be in the NFL? I know a lot of people are saying he should be signed. Cam Newton just got signed. Why isn't Colin Kaepernick signed? But Colin still wants a hefty deal, and Cam Newton just took an incentive-laden bare minimum deal.
Yeah, Jason really right now has his finger on the pulse of all things. He is a fearless writer. There's no doubt about it. So go to Outkick.com to check out all of his content, and we're going to get into all this with him coming up. And, of course, Byron Young, he is a defensive end for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We're going to talk about, is there going to be a season? What is the protocol currently for the SEC? He's at Alabama. He played in all 13 games as a freshman. What are kind of his expectations coming into this? Would he play? Does he want to play if there's a season? There's a lot to get into with Byron, who he had 23 tackles last year for the Crimson Tide and figures to be an integral part of that defensive front coming into 2020, if there is a 2020. And I'm tired of prefacing everything I say by saying that, but Noah, it's in real doubt at this point.
It is, and but I am excited to have Byron on, ask him those questions. And he's a Mississippi kid. Why didn't he go to a Mississippi school? Was there a poll for him to stay in state and go to either Ole Miss or Mississippi State? And but ultimately he chooses Alabama. Wise decision. One of the premier, if not the premier program in all of college football under Nick Saban, and his dream of playing in the NFL. If you want to do that, there's no better coach to play under than Nick Saban.
Well, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify. Again, our website is gasnsports.com. That's where you can get all the info, all of our articles, all of our podcasts and interviews are all archived right there on gasnsports.com. So in addition to our show, I listen to a ton of podcasts, and I'm at the gym almost every day. So having a tremendous pair of earbuds is extremely important to me. So whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want what you're listening to be what you're listening to, not what your roommates, neighbors, significant other, or children are listening to. Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds. But before you go dropping hundreds of dollars on a pair, you need to check out the wireless earbuds from Raycon. You already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of other premium wireless earbuds on the market, and that they sound just as amazing as other top audio brands that you know. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. Raycon's wireless earbuds are so comfortable, perfect for conference calls or binging podcasts. I'll tell you, the long battery life and perfect fit has made this a game changer for me in the gym. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet, with no dangling wires or stems to distract anyone during video calls. You've heard me talk about how the company was founded by Ray J, and now celebrities like Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, Melissa Etheridge, Brandy, and J.R. Smith are obsessed with Raycons. Pick up a pair and see what all the hype is about. Now's the time to get the latest and greatest from Raycon. So get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/musicmania. That's buyraycon.com/musicmania for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. That's buyraycon.com/musicmania. Thank you so much for coming on with us here on the Elite Sports Podcast, man. And I guess now would be a good time to go ahead and announce that you're running for president in 2020. So I guess we'll do that right now. How's it going?
Not quite Kanye West.
I think it would work, man. Well, there's been so much going on. You've been, just really in the limelight quite a bit lately on with Tucker Carlson. You've got, so many people just checking out your work at Outick. Talk about the journey. How did the mega powers explode, as it were? You and Clay Travis at Outick. It's really been blowing up. You guys are growing faster than ever. How did this all come about, man?
Well, Clay and I have probably been friends for 10 years. We've been really good friends probably the last 5 years. And then over the last year, we've talked a lot about what he was trying to do at Outick. And, I was in some discussions with Fox and with ESPN about what was going to be next for me. And just as things played out over time, partnering with Clay just made the most sense. Based off of the opportunities in front of me, I felt like the best chance to maximize my brand financially and in terms of reach and in terms of just freedom to say what I want, it was best to go into partnership with Clay and go from there. And so, it just perfect timing. I think the issues that are going on in America and in the sports world play into my strength, and being at Outick at this time and being able to be as outspoken and as honest as I want to be. I think there's a lot of people thirsting for that kind of content, and I and Outick, we're going to try to provide.
Well, Jason, obviously a few days ago, Patrick Mahomes signs the richest deal in sports history, which is usually resigned for baseball and basketball players. So what were your thoughts upon first hearing that? And do you think we could see more deals like this coming in the future?
Well, I'm not sure we're going to see anything top Patrick Mahomes in the NFL for quite a while, or at least a little while. Patrick Mahomes is, the man right now, has a chance to be one of the great quarterbacks in NFL history. He's young. He's in his youth. He's won an MVP. He's won a Super Bowl all in his first 3 years. I'm not sure if this is going to be the new standard. We'll see it coming forth, but, it's well-deserved. I can't think of anybody in the sports world that deserves that type of contract more than Patrick Mahomes. And here's to him getting the Kansas City Chiefs 2 or 3 more Super Bowls titles before this contract expires.
Well, of course, Jason, you were here at the Kansas City Star for 16 years, covering the Chiefs, everything from Marty Schottenheimer, Lynn Elliott, Gerback over Gannon, to no punt games and Scott Egoli. Knowing the fan base like you do here in Kansas City, kind of what were your emotions as the Chiefs broke through, won their first Super Bowl in 50 years, as you've had a chance now for the last, decade plus to step back and see the Chiefs from, kind of a more of a national perspective?
I just think about my friends and family back in Kansas City and the level of joy that it brought them. I think about the relationship I had with sports fans in Kansas City and the joy it brought to them. It was tremendous what the Kansas City Royals did, and Kansas City certainly has a tremendous baseball following. But football is the premier sport in America. And to see the Kansas City Chiefs after 50 years without winning a Super Bowl, so many years we went without winning a playoff game, so many years we went without having our own franchise quarterback. To see that all come together and lead to a Super Bowl just brought tremendous joy and feelings, for myself, because the last 10 years, once I walked away from the Kansas City Star and moved out here to L.A., I really got to embrace being a Kansas City Chiefs fan, rather than a journalist who also liked the Chiefs but always had to remember, hey, I'm a journalist. I'm here to tell you what I really think. The last 10 years, I've just been able to just be a fan and enjoy the games. And to see it all come together like that is just absolutely tremendous and just a great feeling of pride for me.
I know you recently tweeted about Cam Newton signing an incentive-laden minimum deal while Colin Kaepernick has a documentary about his life via ESPN and Walt Disney coming out, and he's also looking for a healthy contract. If Colin wants to come back to the NFL, does he need to take a prove-it deal like Cam just did?
Yeah, I don't think Colin has any interest in coming back to the NFL because it's been so obvious from the very beginning. If he wanted to come back in, he needed to bring his salary bands down within reason. He needed to demonstrate to people that he could be content for a time or play the role of a backup quarterback. And he hasn't done any of those things. I think he priced himself out after his 2016 season, and then his attitude and antics became a bit much. I just don't think any coach or executive wants to deal with the baggage and all the questions that come along with Colin Kaepernick. If he were playing at Patrick Mahomes' level, it's worth dealing with all those questions. If he were playing at Tom Brady's level, even at 42, 43, it's worth dealing with all those questions. But, he's a borderline starter, probably a backup quarterback. No one wants to deal with all the extra baggage. It's tough enough. Look what happened to Drew Brees for making a comment about the national anthem and disagreeing with it. Look how he got slaughtered for basically saying nothing. Coach gets in bed with Colin Kaepernick, gets asked 1,000 questions about Colin Kaepernick. That's 1,000 different times he can slip up and say something, and the next thing you know, the whole world is coming down on him, calling him a racist. I don't blame NFL teams for shying away from Kaepernick, and Kaepernick just doesn't want to play.
Well, Jason, you've certainly been a most fearless and authentic voice in sports these days. Talk about sports media as a whole and kind of where you see it progressing in the future with so much uncertainty and with minimal sports and football's future in question, especially smaller outlets like, us that really don't want to get into the political game and simply want to cover sports. But now we're kind of being unwillingly thrust into, topics like social justice and health arenas. Where do you see sports media heading here in the next few years?
Well, I think everybody's going to have to get comfortable getting uncomfortable in their conversation and going places perhaps they didn't think needed to go. One of the reasons I joined Outick, to be quite honest with you, is when you have a full understanding of the sports media and understand how it works, that broadcasters, both radio and on TV, they depend on print journalists to provide them a foundation of content for them to talk about. And so what's happened over the last decade is the whole foundation for broadcasters on radio or TV to talk about is all far left, anti-America. America's, abhorrently racist. And so everything's being written in that light. And I think it's put broadcasters in a tough spot because they don't have a lot of material or content to back up what may be their gut instinct beliefs that they used to be able to get confirmed in other media spaces, information to back up their opinions, confidence to express their opinion. And so one of the things I want to accomplish at Outick and what Outick wants to accomplish is providing people the content and the foundation to argue the other side of some of these issues. These issues aren't nearly as one-sided as the media likes to present. There's two sides to all these arguments. And so at Outick, we want to be able to lay down the foundation to give broadcasters on radio, TV, and other journalists the confidence to say, go ahead and address the other side of these issues. We'll back you up. We'll provide you the content and the confidence to go ahead and make those arguments. But I don't see the topics changing much for those of us in the sports media. But hopefully here at Outick, we're just going to widen the breadth of the conversation and add some more balance to the conversation.
Yeah, I'm kind of speaking to that and the issues that are ahead of us and going to be there for a little while. The NFL having reduced capacity inside stadiums. I know here at Arrowhead, talking to something around 50% capacity. And the NFL just doing a 180 on their stance about the protest. Do you expect all of that to have a substantial adverse effect on fan interest, attendance, and viewership moving forward?
I think that if these guys play the so-called Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, wonderful song, sang it when I was a kid. But if they play that and everybody's standing at attention, and then they follow it up with the real national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, and most of these guys go to their knees and protest, I think that will devastate the National Football League. I think you're going to irritate 60% of your audience. And of that 60%, that you irritate 40% of that audience is going to be like, you know what? F you guys. I can't take this. I can't take a bunch of millionaires wagging their finger at a country that I love and telling us that we're all racist and that Derek Chauvin, the policeman in Minneapolis, represents all of us, represents all police. It's just too unfair. And so I think it'll be a breaking point for the NFL. I think they will severely hurt their following. And I'm not sure if they'll ever regain the standing that football used to have in America.
Well, Jason, kind of tell us what you got coming up here on Outkick. I know you just released an article today, and I'm just getting wind of all this. Of course, Senator Josh Hawley here in Missouri. You just mentioned we're talking about the F-bomb heard around the world, and I'm just getting all this info. So you just released an article about it. Tell us kind of what happened in this situation, as I'm just getting caught up myself, and your latest article here on Outkick and kind of what you have coming up maybe next week, ma'am.
Well, Josh Hawley, the junior senator from Missouri, wrote a letter to Adam Silver about complaining about all the social justice messages that are going to be at the back of players' jerseys, and just, hey, could there be some balance? Could you offer them the opportunity to put some slogans that perhaps supported America? God bless America, back the blue, back law enforcement, free Hong Kong, anything like that. And he sent that letter to Adam Silver, and he shared his letter with media. That's what politicians do a lot of times. They make their actions known to the public. And Adrian Wojnarowski, the star reporter for ESPN, the top inside voice on the NBA, wrote Hawley back, F you, and spelled out the F you in all four letters. And big mistake by Adrian Wojnarowski. I don't get I do get where he's coming from. He's like a lot of other people in the NBA. He has a revenue stream that he wants to protect out of China. The Daryl Morey stuff a year and a half ago or whatever cost, I believe, Adrian a television show that he was doing back in China, and maybe that was back on, but it just inappropriate. And so I reached out to Josh Hawley, got some comments from him about the whole exchange with Adrian and what he'd like to see the NBA do. And I'm probably going to – that was more of a news story today. I'll probably write a column about this whole situation and just talk about how coverage of the NBA is compromised by its business relationships with China. And that extends not the players. That's just not Adam Silver. It extends all the way to the media. And that's why Adrian Wojnarowski responded in such a profane, emotional way, because he's worried about protecting his own life.
Jason, before we kick you loose here, I got to bring this up because we've seen kind of some of the condemnation that's been heaped upon football coaches. We've seen what happened with Mike Gundy and Dabo Swinney for a shirt he wore. Do you think it's fair that all of a sudden a lot of these football coaches are kind of being thrust in the role of social justice warrior when they're trying to figure out what's going on with their season? Somebody here in Kansas City, a media member, asked Andy Reid flat out, Andy, do Black Lives Matter? That was a question directed towards Andy Reid. What do you think it's fair? What we're on Zoom meetings every week with Eli Drinkwitz, the new Mizzou coach. I haven't heard a football question asked in a month. Coaches are really sort of their roles are transforming perhaps before our eyes here.
We're asking people to do more than they're trained to do, want to do, have the expertise to do. We're basically asking them to, hey, let me ask you a question that you can potentially blow your career up. Let me ask you that question.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the sport you're coaching. And there's nothing wrong with any of these coaches not having a political opinion, having a political opinion that the media disagrees with, social media disagrees with, their players may disagree with. They have a right. That's America. But these coaches can't push back because they all want to protect their paychecks. The kids have leverage over them because of social media. I would not – this is not a great time to be a college, high school, professional coach. All you are is one player away from going on social media and accusing you of something, and you're in hot water. Go look at what happened to, I think his name's Vic Koenning, the defensive coordinator at West Virginia.
Yeah.
He's bringing one of his safeties food, driving to Charleston, bringing the guy food on a regular basis during this pandemic. And then out of nowhere, the guy's attacking him over social media over a comment that the kid was offended by that was really nothing. Coaches talk tough. Coaches say tough things. I feel bad for coaches. And the media is so irresponsible but we all are, and I throw myself in there. We're so addicted to social media, and we all want to get retweets and likes and get that dopamine high of a lot of social media engagement, and it's driving all of our polarized actions and divisive actions because we're using each other as fodder to build brands rather than engaging with people in an authentic way and in a way that's healthy and promotes unity. We're just in a sad place.
Jason, so well said. I hope everybody will go check out your stuff at Outkick.com and at Whitlock Jason on Twitter. Keep those dopamine levels rising for all of us, guys. Jason, on a personal note, you from your work here at the Kansas City Star, us growing up in the 90s, both of us, I don't know that I'd be in sports journalism at all if not for you. I remember calling and leaving you messages at your office. You would call and talk. You'd call back a 12-year-old kid just to talk sports, and that meant the world to me, Jason. Thank you so much for providing that voice and for still being out there, man. We really appreciate it, and all the best going forward, man. We really appreciate you.
Clint, Noah, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Always, man. Thank you.
Honor. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, if you like what you just heard from Jason Whitlock, you should consider becoming an Outkick VIP for just $99 a year. You get exclusive access to Clay Travis's national radio show and the events Clay and Jason sponsor. Outkick.com is the fearless and authentic voice of sports fans nationwide. It was kind of surreal knowing that Jason was here when we were kids growing up as Chiefs fans. He was really just getting his footing as a journalist. He played football at Ball State in college. And now here he is, one of the top sports journalists in the country. And he's a very polarizing person. Love him or hate him. Jason Whitlock, huge get for us. And I'm excited that we were able to do it. That was really cool. And again, visit Outkick.com for all the info on Jason. And of course, Clay Travis, his business partner there. I'm a big Outkick fan. I'm a reader. And I think that what they're doing provides definitely a different voice than what you usually hear out there in the media when it comes to fear-mongering, coronavirus stuff. They're kind of at the cutting edge, man, and that was really cool to have Jason on.
It really was, and not just a different voice, but an important voice. As you said, there's everyone talking doom and gloom, and you get to hear the other side of it that isn't portrayed in the media a lot. Everyone wants to stick with the mainstream and kind of what everyone else is saying. So if you go to Outkick.com and look at what Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock is doing, you're going to see the dissenting viewpoint and their opinion on something, and that's needed. That's an important voice out there because all we're hearing is one side of everything. So it's good to hear the other side from them. And yeah, Jason Whitlock, having him on, it was a legend in the sports media business and just in the journalism business out there, whether it's newspaper, television, radio, whatever it is, he's got you covered. And now at Outkick.com, and to hearing what he's had to say about Colin Kaepernick, he doesn't believe he wants to play in the NFL by holding out for that big and massive of a contract and ask that he's asking NFL teams for. So that was interesting to hear, and always we get the best from Jason Whitlock.
We did, and he even, whenever I asked him about sports media and kind of where it stands for people like us that are just sports guys talking sports that never thought the political realm would ever bleed over into our lives, it has happened. 2020 has really thrown daggers in so many different ways, and one of which is certainly the political side of things, which you and I, we just don't really, that's just not really our thing. But Jason made a really good point there, and he said people are going to have to get uncomfortable and address issues that maybe they're not comfortable talking about. Here we are, getting uncomfortable talking about it, and he made the same point about coaches when I asked about, is it fair that we are turning coaches, trying to force them into a new role as social justice warriors when they're trying to figure out if they're going to have a season, they're trying to figure out what their roster is going to look like. They can't watch their players even work out non-mandatory workouts. Coaches have a lot heaped on them right now We've seen what's happened with Mike Gundy and Dabo Swinney. We've been on some Zoom calls with Mizzou coach Eli Drinkwitz. There's no sports to really talk about. They're not getting asked football questions. So here they are thrust into this new role. And Jason, it seems like, kind of agreed with me in that it's maybe not fair, but it's time for people to get uncomfortable. That's unfortunate because I kind of like things the way they were when we just played sports. We played football. We talked about the games. We talked about the players. This is a whole new world for me, Noah, and I know it is for you as well.
A whole new ball of wax. There may not be two more uncomfortable people thrust into the political virus and whether we're going to play sports or not realm in this Black Lives Matter movement. And we just want to talk sports. That's why we started this podcast. That's why we get the expert guests, and we have for 8+ years now. And so, yeah, there's no more uncomfortable people delving into everything that all this is than you and I, my friend. Even the coaches out there that are thrust into this, we're more uncomfortable than even they are. And we're not getting paid the millions to delve into it either.
That is also accurate. Well, one thing I am comfortable doing is talking some SEC football, so we want to go ahead and welcome our next guest to the show here. It is Alabama Crimson Tide defensive end Byron Young. Byron, welcome to the show, man. How is everything going?
It's going good. It's going good.
Well, kind of describe to us what life is like for you right now. What's the daily kind of protocols for you guys? I know non-mandatory workouts are still unfolding. You've got tutoring sessions. What does life look like for you guys right now?
So Mondays and Fridays, I wake up at 7:30 because I'm in the second lift group. I think we have 5 lift groups throughout the day because we can't have too many people in the weight room at one time. So I'm in the second lift group. I wake up at 7:30. I'm in the weight room by 8:15. This is Monday and Friday. 8:15, we lift and we'll run on both Monday and Friday, and we'll be done by about 10. Then after that, I have tutoring at 11, my time, not Eastern time. And then at 1 o'clock, I have a meeting with my advisor, and after that, around 4 o'clock, we'll have a team meeting, and then we'll have position meetings on Zoom. But then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we work out at 7:45 to 9. Then, so on those days, I wake up at about 6:15, go work out, be done by 9 o'clock. Then Tuesday, we'll have 7-on-7, so we'll have meetings around 3 o'clock on Zoom. Then from 4:30 to 5:30, we'll be out there practicing, and it's like that for the rest of the week for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Wow, Byron, you had offers from Clemson, Florida, LSU, and the Mississippi schools, and you're from Mississippi. Was there a strong pull to stay in state and play for either Ole Miss or Mississippi State?
There was from people who were inside the state, but me personally, I didn't really care where I was going to, as long as I felt like I was going to be taken care of, as long as I was comfortable with the people I was around, as long as my family was happy for where I was going. That was all that mattered for me. So Alabama's closer than both of the schools that are in state, the bigger schools in the state. I'm only 40 minutes away from the University of Southern Mississippi, but Alabama and LSU, they're both closer than the two states, in-state schools.
Yeah, and just you saw a lot of action, played in all 13 games last year as a freshman. You had 23 tackles last year. Coming into this year, what does it take for you, and what are you kind of doing to take the next step? Because, Alabama, the legacy and the history is there. The national championships, Nick Saban, we all know what a powerhouse program it is. But for you to be a big part of that defensive line here in 2020, what are you doing personally to make sure that you take that next step as a player?
I think last year when I came in, I expected to play a good bit, but I didn't expect to start 5 games like I did. But last year, I think I was kind of threw into the fire. I didn't come in early. I came in at the end of May, so I was only here 3 months before I played my first snap. But this upcoming year, I think the thing for me is just being more comfortable with the plays. There were times last year where I wouldn't really be too sure about what I was doing on the play, but this year, I think, is just being more confident in what I'm doing and knowing that I'm preparing harder, better than the person that I'm going against, because the people that I'm going against at practice are as good, if not better, than all the people that I'm going to play throughout the year. So I think the biggest part with me is just going to be having the confidence to go in every single week, trusting everything that the coaches have told me throughout the week, and just knowing that they're going to put me in the best spot to succeed.
Well, Byron, talk to us about Nick Saban. Everyone sees the intensity on the sidelines, but delve deeper into it. What really makes him one of the premier coaches in all of college football?
I think the thing that makes him one of the best coaches, everybody sees how he is on the sideline. They see how he is in interviews, but he's not like that all the time. There will be times where he's just going around at practice, joking around with the players. He doesn't really joke around with the younger players, but you will see as you get older, he'll joke around with older players once you've been there once you basically earned your stripes. But I think what makes him probably the greatest coach is, he knows every single position on the team. Some coaches will have a specialty. It'll be they played linebacker in college, or they played quarterback in college, so they'll just focus on mainly the position that they played and let the coordinators handle everything else. But I think with Coach Saban, he knows every single position on the field. He knows what everybody's supposed to be doing on every single play, offense and defense, when we're going against each other. So if one person messes up, you might think he won't see you because he'll be looking in a completely different direction, but he'll glance over there and see that you're just in the wrong spot, and he'll know you messed up just from a glance. So I think that his attention to detail and how he pushes everybody every single day at practice, I think that's what makes the University of Alabama special, and I think that's what makes him the greatest coach of all time in college football.
We live in COVID-19 society. It's just part of our lives now. What in your daily interactions, in your daily workouts, is it evident? What are people saying? Because the SEC is meeting today. We're talking about, maybe doing a conference-only schedule, maybe no season at all. Is there a fear for that for you guys? Do you talk about that daily?
I think you can obviously tell the difference, since COVID's been around, in the way that we work out and in the way that we interact with each other as a facility, because once you walk in the door, they're checking your temperature, they're asking you questions. And if you have a fever, they won't let you in. They take you to the doctor. They make you quarantine right away. So, and when we're working out, once we walk in the door, we put on masks and we social distance as best as we can. There are some points in working out where you might be bench pressing and you may have to have a person spotting you, so you won't be able to social distance at that point. But we'll always have our mask on. But thinking about there not being a season, I think we do think about that. We do talk about that sometimes. Coach Saban always tells us that, no one really knows what's going to happen at this point. That's what he's always told us. He keeps us informed on all the things that he knows. But I think there is a real thought and there is a real worry that we actually might not get to play the season this year. I think some people look at it as a bad thing, and I think some people look at it as a good thing. I think some players don't want to play and aren't comfortable playing, with everything going on. But I think some players, like myself, going out and playing football in itself, you're putting your body on the line. You're risking injury every single day at practice. So if there's an opportunity for me to go play, I'm going to be one of the ones that suit up to play.
Absolutely. And Byron, just what makes Alabama stand out, not just as a football program, but as a total overall experience, atmosphere, and a key destination for fans in the SEC?
I think it's just for the football players, it's basically like family. Everyone around here knows everybody. Everyone's nice to everybody. The fans, they all gravitate towards people of all sports. They're great fans. They're at every single game, packing the stadium. I know sometimes they might not stay until the end of the game, but the fans are just as good as any other fans in the country. But I think a lot of people are drawn to success. I think that's the main thing that has drawn a lot of people in, because growing up, I didn't like Alabama. I always wanted to go to LSU when I was younger. I hated Alabama when I was growing up, and I always wanted to go to LSU, and I thought I would end up at LSU. But when I came to visit Alabama, it just felt like, to me, this was the place that I was supposed to be attending, and this is the place that I was meant to play football at. And since I've been here, year, I haven't looked back, and I don't regret it at all.
As we look forward here, we're just hopeful we get a season. We're hopeful that something happens. You come to Alabama, you guys fall short. You don't make the college football playoff. There's history and tradition. Nick Saban and national championships there go together, but you've never been a part of one. So how driven are you personally to see this through? And yeah, Alabama's got a lot of history, but it's always on to the next season, always on to the next thing. You want to be a part of a national championship. How driven are you to be a part of one there?
I think I'm driven along with everybody else on the team as much as anybody has ever been. I think last year we had a lot of injuries. We had 3 players who were projected starters during the spring and throughout fall camp who got injured. So I think that hurt us a little bit. Well, not a little bit, honestly, a lot. And then we had 2 get hurt towards the end of the year. So, but I think this upcoming year we're all driven because no one wants to be the group of people who let a program fall off. No one wants to be known as this is when the program fell off, and this is when Alabama went from being a national championship contender every single year to being just another good team who may win a national championship one time out of 3 years. I think we're all driven. It drives me every single day. Every single day when I wake up, I think about us losing to LSU or us losing to Auburn, and those games stick with you. They always say the games that you lose stick with you more than the games that you win. And I never wake up thinking about how we beat Michigan in the bowl game. I always wake up thinking about how we lost to Auburn or how we lost to LSU. So I think I'm driven just by the simple fact that I want to get back at them. I want to beat them, and I want to beat the best so we can be known as the best again.
Byron, thank you so much for lending your time to us here this morning. It is a true pleasure, and we're going to be watching. Can't wait to see how you progress the rest of your career, man. Bright and shining star, definitely in the SEC. Can't wait to see how it goes. But best of luck. Stay safe and stay healthy, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute honor, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Big Byron, man, taking time from his busy schedule. You heard what a day in the life is for him, all the workouts and the kind of Zoom meetings and the coaches meetings that they have. And he said it is a different world for him. He's a sophomore. The differences are stark between coming in as a freshman. He played in all 13 games, had 23 tackles, 1.5 sacks. To try to make an impact coming into 2020 with all this uncertainty, I feel for guys like him. And what if he's to lose a year of eligibility with no season? That's a real tragedy. And especially he's trying to elevate his NFL stock. And if you lose a season to try to get tape out there for NFL scouts, that's a true unfortunate situation that could manifest itself before our very eyes. But you heard him, Noah. He said, if there's a season, he's playing, and I respect it. And I know that there's a lot of players that feel like that, and I know that there's some that feel like they don't know what to do. There's people being pushed him in every direction. And honestly, I don't have the best advice for someone like him either, but he wants to play, and I respect it.
I absolutely do. And it was interesting to hear that and him saying, like, he's talked to players out there, not just on Alabama, but that don't want to play and are nervous to play and worried about their health of not only themselves, but their loved ones and others around them. But he said, man, I'm a sophomore here at Alabama. I'm trying to make it to the NFL. And if there's a season, you can bet Byron Young's going to be out there on that field. So that was powerful stuff. And how this is life-changing, and this is their lives, the game of football and what it means to them and their futures and their families' futures moving forward. So this is of vital importance that the season is played and that he's out there on that field.
Yeah, I really respect Byron. It was really cool to get a current player and get his take on the situation because, you don't hear a lot from current players. I mean, there's just not a lot to talk about right now. Coaches really aren't allowing them to do a lot of interviews. I know that at Mizzou, where we are close to, we've seen some players hop on some of the weekly Zoom calls here and there, but Byron went through the proper channels and got this okayed. And I really appreciate the University of Alabama for allowing him to do it because we need that perspective. We want to know what players are up to. They're in a tough spot. They don't get paid. The NFL, if it goes on, I totally get it because there's a lot of money at stake. There is in college as well, but these players are not state employees. Okay. These colleges can't hold these guys for ransom. I mean, this is a tough situation that the SEC met earlier this week. We know that there's been a lot of conferences dumb the season down to just 10 games or whatever it is, eliminating non-conference games, which doesn't make sense in a lot of cases when you've got Clemson and South Carolina getting canceled, yet Clemson plays Boston College during the season. It's 900 miles away. That doesn't make sense to me either. And why can Missouri go travel to Florida to play the Gators? That's okay. But Missouri playing, at BYU, that's not okay. I'm sorry. This just doesn't make sense. There's no leadership in place and there's no answers. And I get that. And I don't have an answer either. But a lot of us are lost here, aren't we?
Absolutely, and you made all the great points right there, how Clemson's not playing South Carolina, but they're going to go up to play Boston College. None of it makes sense. I think that people are just kind of grasping at straws for answers, and maybe it's just to lose games, to not have as many games, as many opportunities to spread the disease or catch the disease. So maybe it's not about all of the travel. Let's just cut it down to just conference games. We know we have to play those. Anything outside of that realm, it's not really about the travel or the distance or whatever it may be. It's just about cutting down the season. We know we have to cut it down. The easiest way is to just say conference games only.
Well, we want to thank Raycon for sponsoring the show this week. Again, guys, go to raycon.com, use the promo code MusicMania, and you're going to get 15% off. To me, what are the absolute best wireless earbuds imaginable. And go do that right now. Also want to thank Vermeil Wines, who sponsors the show, and Noble Apparel. Go to nobleapparel.com and check out all the latest from Noble Apparel. By sports fans, for sports fans. They have masks available. You got to wear masks to the gym and in the bank. Go get a Chiefs mask from Noble Apparel. And go to vermeilwines.com. Use promo code ELITE and get $1 shipping on an order of 3 bottles or more. Noah, thanks to all our sponsors this week, Raycon, Vermeil Wines, and Noble Apparel. We appreciate it every single week, keeping us going. That's what this is about, man. And so definitely give our sponsors the time of day, if nothing else. We really appreciate having them on, correct?
Oh, absolutely. This show could not go on without them, without everyone out there listening. So we thank all of our listeners tuning in each and every week to the Elite Sports Podcast, where we bring you expert interviews in the world of sports, and we can't thank our sponsors enough. Like you said, they're the lifeblood of the show along with our fans. So just a huge thank you to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We've got more great interviews coming up right here and only here on the Elite Sports Podcast.
Bring a spectacular piece of Napa Valley right to your doorstep today with Vermeil Wines.
Former legendary Chiefs and NFL coach Dick Vermeil started Vermeil Wines back in 1999, but his undying devotion to bringing a taste of Napa Valley to the masses actually goes back generations.
Well, it started as a hobby of making 150 to 200 cases of Cabernet, Jean-Louis Vermeil Cabernet, my dad's name and my great-grandfather's name.
Vermeil wines are grown in Coach Vermeil's hometown of Calistoga, California, at the top of Napa Valley, where the vineyards are over 100 years old.
Browse all the signature wine options or become an official member today at vermeilwines.com.
Choose from 3, 6, or 12 bottles and enjoy a 15% savings with shipments each February, May, and September. You'll also get access to exclusive offerings and events such as virtual wine tastings with Coach Vermeil himself, as well as member-only wines.
Try the Signature Club, where you get 1 case per year, a 20% savings, 4 bottles of each Cabernet. These are the highest rated wines at $1 shipping all year.
To join, visit vermeilwines.com now or call 707-254-9881.
Use promo code ELITE for $1 shipping on 3+ bottles of wine. This will also apply to your first wine club order if you mention ELITE at sign up.